Joe Torre held another long media briefing with the New York press today before the game, just as he did in L.A. when the Mets were out there. He spent 45 minutes talking. Here's the lineup that Joe's putting on the field, working around the injury to Rafael Furcal and to Andrew Jones. He's got Jeff Kent back in the lineup tonight. Kent missed the last 2 games because of back spasms, but at the age of 40, Kent has been struggling. The youngster Blake DeWitt, who got off to the roaring start, has cooled down a little bit. Matt Kemp has been the hottest hitter in the Dodger lineup, along with Andre Ethier.
Well, Claudio Vargas making his 4th start for the Mets. His last one I talked about before, a great one. Went 7 innings of 2-run ball. Thing about Vargas last season, his Brewers, well, he won 11 games, but in his first 14 starts, they were 12-2. So very surprising when he was let go. Mets are happy about that, though.
On the mound for the Mets, Claudio Vargas.
You see Claudio Vargas taking his warm-up tosses. There's the veteran Juan Pierre leading off tonight.
He's watched Juan Pierre. He does that thing with his elbow. Remember Joe Morgan used to always have that. He used to cock his elbow a little bit to make sure he had that elbow up.
Juan Pierre now in the 2nd year of a 5-year deal. He was vilified last year in Los Angeles, but got off to a good start this season. Look at Citi Field. I think we're going to check in with Danny Sessa tomorrow night on a construction update. Always nice to hear from our favorite carpenter.
And here it comes, your Rico Metsy defense. I've been looking forward to this one. A little tardy in the truck there with this. Tatis in left field, of course, again with the big double last night. He's done a terrific job and really hustling. I think has provided a lot of spark for this team. And Andy last night in right field, he with the pinch hit home run. There's Todd.
Former Met, former Dodger.
Is he still acting, Ron? You know?
I don't think he's acting. He's behind the scenes as a producer of major films, and he also does a lot of work for juvenile diabetes. My son, of course, has diabetes, and so does his daughter.
He looks like he just got in from the coast.
Yeah.
So Juan Pierre will lead things off against Claudio Vargas. Pierre hitting at .276. And former Met hitting coach Rick Down is in the ballpark tonight. Formerly the hitting coach for the Mets, for Willie Randolph, and for the Yankees for Joe Torre. And Pierre takes a call strike, and we're underway. I love Pierre wearing the cap under the helmet.
Yeah,
They've rarely seen look anymore.
Socks, you can see the stirrups.
Willie Mays did that. Actually put the helmet
up the middle, and a base hit for Pierre to get the evening started. Pierre is now 10 for 18 against Claudio Vargas. So they have met before, and it's generally gone Pierre's way. So Andre Ethier comes to bat with a man on, and Ethier has been one of the few hot hitters in this Dodger lineup. You see his numbers over the last 5 games.
But despite who's hot, very little power in this lineup. Rafael Furcal, who hasn't played in 3 weeks, is tied for the team lead with 5 home runs. That'll tell you their struggles with a long ball.
I'm sorry, Garrett. It's .268 team batting average, which is 4th in the National League. They're 11th in runs and last in home runs with 33.
33 homers in 52 games. Pierre runs. Schneider's throw is right on the money, but can't be handled by Reyes. And Pierre has a stolen base, his 20th of the year. A good throw by Schneider.
Pierre has lost a little speed. He had a terrific jump. His throw is right there. It's been a close call. He a little bit into the runner. Gosh, that was a close play if Reyes makes the catch.
I think that was a thing where the ball, the glove, and the helmet all came together at the same time. The helmet jarring that baseball.
So Pierre has his 20th steal. He's 3rd in the National League. He's in scoring position with nobody out. The pitch was a strike to Ethier. He's hitting at .307 on the year. And the curveball bounced down to Delgado. That'll advance the runner as Vargas gets over to cover. 3-1 put out, moves Pierre over to 3rd. So the Dodgers playing little ball in the opening inning. And you see why they need to play little ball. They steal a lot of bases, but They do not hit for much power. Not only are they last in home runs, they're also last in the league in doubles.
Yeah.
So that'll tell you a lot.
And they got a decent on-base percentage, so they just peck away. And here's one of those guys with a big reason: 33 walks on the year for Russell Martin.
He's kind of the poster boy for this team. 101 plate appearances without a home run for Martin. Hitting a .317 on the year.
He went 3 for 5 last night. You see the defense pretty much straight up.
Infield back conceding a run on a ground ball with a runner at third and 1 out. And Martin takes the breaking ball off the plate, 1-0. Martin plays virtually every day. The regular backup for the Dodgers, Gary Bennett's now on the disabled list. They called up Danny Ardoin, the former Colorado Rocky, who's now their backup. He was here for about 9 days before they finally let him play in a game. That's how often Martin plays. And Vargas falls behind 2-0.
You know, in this situation, you have to almost, as a pitcher, forget the man's on third until you get to 2 strikes. Once you get to 2 strikes, and if you're heading to count 0-2 and 1-2, then you can start thinking about maybe a punch out or pop up. But really, you want to just get the out here. If the run scores, the run scores. But that's how you manage an inning and don't make it into a big inning.
One thing about Martin is he takes a strike on the outside corner. He's not going to chase a lot of pitches. He has developed into a very patient hitter. In fact, he's 4th in the league in on-base percentage now at .423.
Well, he was hitting in a buck and change the first 3 weeks of the season. So great turnaround for Martin, who's just one of the bright young stars.
Think about the young catching stars in the National League. Martin and Brian McCann immediately come to mind. Off the corner, it's 3-1 now with Jeff Kent waiting on deck.
Well, as you said, Gary, Martin has been red hot. There's Jeff. He is tied with Ralph Kiner, 66th on the all-time home run list with 369. Our good friend Ralph.
It's just hard to believe that he's 66 with all the home runs he hit.
Well, Ralph's career ended up being a relatively short one because of back problems. 3-1. And he goes the other way, hits it to right. In comes Chavez to make the running catch. Here comes Pierre. Here comes Endy's throw on a hop. He slides. He is out at the plate. Endy Chavez does it again. He guns down Juan Pierre trying to score on the short fly ball. Double play, and the inning is over. Endy did it with his bat last night. He does it with his arm tonight. Schneider blocks the plate, and Pierre is meat. Well, Endy Chavez has had plenty to smile about the last 2 nights. He delivers the keynote address here, and Brian Schneider does the rest.
Snyder's leg's going to come across. Watch him slide around. He should have his front foot just kicked right through hard, knocked that leg out of the way, but he tries to come around. And that's either you knock him down or you come in hard with your front foot. That's never got there. Willie Mays was a great slider as far as that kick slide.
There's your Geico Mets starting lineup tonight. A little different against the right-hander tonight, but Tatis does stay in against the right-hander. Chavez gets the start in right field. The big left-handed bats, Delgado and Schneider, are back in there against hard-throwing Brad Penny,
who's throwing 97 miles an hour in his last start. Only gave up a couple of runs to the St. Louis Cardinals. Did not factor in that decision, but it's worth repeating. 5-12 against the Mets lifetime, 1-9 in this building, including a poor relief appearance in the 2006 NLDS.
Both ERAs well over 6.
Reyes riding a 13-game hitting streak and a 28-game on-base streak. Both are the longest current streaks in the National League. Well, Reyes has not only been hitting, he's been hitting for extra bases.
He's picked it up, hit with power.
Led off the first inning with an extra base hit each of the last 3 games. Led off the series against the Marlins on Monday night with a home run, and then the last 2 nights led off the first inning with doubles. And with that kind of ignition, the Mets have been putting up multiple runs in the first inning.
Well, all that aside, the last 2 games, Gary, it's been the energy on the field. It's something they haven't had.
Struck him out with a breaking ball, so Penny fans Reyes to start the first inning. 1 away.
a good one, Ron.
The second baseman.
Good straight downer. That's 12-6. And anyone who has a good breaking ball is always traditionally giving this Met lineup a tough go.
Well, you see the Dodger defense right there. That's Luis Mazza. Was called up on May 13th, to take the place of Rafael Furcal, who's on the disabled list. This is his 4th start at shortstop. Of course, the All-Star Russell Martin behind the plate.
Here's Luis Castillo, who hit his 2nd home run of the year last night. Castillo's now hit 25 career home runs, and 22 of them have come as a right-hand batter. I guess the question is, how did he get the 3 from the left side?
Absolutely.
Wrigley, wind blowing out.
Maybe inside the park.
Oh.
2-0 to Castillo.
Well, it's always the same pitch, too. Much that belt-high fastball, middle in, that he just really turns on.
Castillo hitting at .258 on the year. And he takes a fastball down the middle. 94 from Penny, 2-1.
Keith, you were talking about Mazza, the shortstop. Nice story about him. When he was called up, he rushed to the big leagues. The game was supposed to be at Miller Park in Milwaukee. He got to the ballpark. Cardinals were there. The Dodgers weren't playing until the next day. He was a day early.
Are you kidding?
No.
Well, you can understand his hurry because Luis Mazza spent 10.5 years in the minor leagues before he got called up this time by the Dodgers.
I admire people who do that. I don't know how you do it. I was ready to go after the first year. I said, boy, is this the minor leagues? This is awful. I think it's much better now, though. The ballparks, a lot of nice ballparks have been built.
You know, I think that's one of the things of baseball that's changed. Ron, in our day, they drafted you out of college, but they wanted to draft in our time, particularly mine, the players out of high school and to teach them how to play at a young age. And it was the only sport of the big 3 that you paid your dues in the minors.
Yeah.
And you learned to respect the big leagues when you came up.
3-2 hit on the ground behind the bag. Mazza runs it down, but Castillo beats it out. Infield hit for Castillo.
Well, there's no way this should be a base hit. Mazza should have kind of, he ran across the field towards right field. He should have cut more at an angle toward this direction to cut it off. You can't play it back with a fast runner like that.
Yeah, he had to cut it off near second base, kind of a half hop, but did not do it.
And good hustle by Castillo, and that's something we've been seeing lately from this Met ball club. And I like it.
So 1 out and 1 on, and here's one of Brad Penny's chief tormentors, David Wright. David is 9 for 17 against Penny with 2 home runs.
Now, the one thing, Ronnie, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I've seen Penny pitch a lot, and particularly against left-handers. He doesn't pitch inside enough with his power stuff.
Yeah, he could, he's throwing 94, 95 miles an hour. He just threw that ball in the outside corner to David Wright. That's the same corner that would be inside to a lefty. If he did that consistently, he would be, he's a winner anyways because of his stuff. We're talking about a huge winner.
Yep.
That's what Penny has done career against the Mets. The highest ERA of any pitcher against the Mets. And Wright lays off, and it's 1-1. But Penny this year has already lost more games than he lost all of last year. He went 16-4 for the Dodgers last year. He's 5-5 this season. So Beltran on deck as the Mets try and cash some runs in the first inning again. Taken high and boxed around by Martin. 2-1. See how Penny has struggled this year compared to last year. Only Roy Oswalt of the Astros has had a greater rise in his ERA from last year to this.
And he's traditionally a quick starter, so that's not a great sign for Joe Torre and the Dodgers.
2-1 to Wright. Mets have been doing a lot of hitting and running lately.
Of course, if anyone would know his move would be Castillo. Castillo and Penny, teammates for a long time in Florida.
Hit and run wouldn't be a bad idea here, Gary. You got a little slumping David Wright.
Not going, and Wright can't hold the swing on that fastball, and it's 2-2.
Davy Johnson, a good breaking ball here too. No, that's a fastball. Excuse me. knee-high outside corner. Davey Johnson and Whitey Herzog told me both that they liked to hit and run with me when I was struggling at the plate because I took too many pitches and they wanted me to swing and made me concentrate more.
There goes Castillo, and Wright fouls it off.
So what you're saying is that when you're going well, you're so confident that even if a pitcher gets a two strikes, you're still in the at bat, as opposed to when you're struggling, you need to be a little more aggressive because.
Well, no, I've actually flip-flopped on it. Maybe you misunderstood me. It made me swing when I was in a slump, hitting and running.
All right, I understand.
I tend to like to take more pitches to get a good look and get a timing by taking, as opposed when I was hot. I just anything I liked, I swung.
2-2 breaking ball misses, and that's different from a lot of hitters. A lot of hitters, when they get in slumps, they get overly aggressive.
You never had a rhythm. When I was in a bad slump, I never had a rhythm. So if I got, that would be a time where I might get 2-0 and take a pitch. But every time I took as if I was going to swing to try to get that feel back, that timing.
3-2 to Wright. Let's see if Castillo runs. He does. And Wright takes ball 4, and the Mets have 2 men on. Close pitch. Penny didn't get the call, and this is the way things generally go for the Mets against Penny. He don't necessarily hit a lot of home runs against him. He just has innings tumble down on him, and that was the case when they faced him in L.A. a few weeks ago.
It always seems like he, against other teams, is very aggressive. Seems to be hitting corners, try to be too fine against the Mets, and that'll happen when you have those numbers against them.
Was there a particular team or park, Ronnie, that you knew you had trouble with?
Well, it's just, traditionally the tough teams that we used to face. The Cubs in Wrigley, I did not pitch well in. Of course, the Cardinals were always a tough team to go against just because of their speed.
Beltran hits a double play ball to Kent. He has to get up and throw to second, so that costs him any chance for 2. Kent leaving his feet to get to the ground ball. So they erase Wright for the second out. Castillo moves over to third.
Well, Kent never has had much range at second base. He's been an offensive player. He's really improved his defense. I'd make a point here. Beltran got a hit into left center field, opposite field last night. He's been pulling all year from the left side, and I just was thinking it over in my mind last night. He's been playing Pepper with second base all year long from the left side of the plate.
Yeah, he's hit a lot of line drives that have been caught on the right side of the infield. So Delgado steps in with first and third and 2 down. Carlos did not start the last 2 nights. 4 hits in his last 30 at bats. He did appear as a pinch hitter last night and drew a walk. And this is a time for Carlos to show his manager and everybody else that he's got something left. Ball 1.
Well, a lot of times when you're struggling, you see the defense, not the big shift. Very surprising.
Very straight.
Wow. It's a time in your career, late in your career, where a lot of things go through your mind, and you hear all that. You got to tune the negative out, and it's very difficult.
Curveball in for a strike, 1-1.
He's got a big overhand 12-6 drop.
He does.
Wow.
It's going to be very interesting to see what Willie does with his lineup tomorrow when the Mets face the 20-year-old lefty Clayton Kershaw. And a lot may depend on how Delgado looks tonight. Willie has not said one way or another. He's been asked several times whether Delgado will play tomorrow. Breaking ball swung and missed. And it's 1-2.
Out in front, and this is what Carlos has been doing. And it just means to me he's not picking the ball up out of the hand. It's not a strike. Out in front, reaching for it. It's a guy that has had a tremendous career, and how about that? They still love me.
New Jersey still
sells.
Humans. 1-2. Struck him out on a pitch in the dirt, and Martin puts the tag on Delgado to end the inning. So Penny able to escape a first inning jam as he gets Delgado with the breaking ball. We go to the second at Shea with no score. 3-2 to Kent, pulled down to third. Wright handles the hop. Kent not running very hard, and he's retired, 1 away.
When Tom Seaver came back to the Mets in '83, he certainly is not going to make the bus trip over to Miami to pitch against the Orioles in the early 80s. He's going to get
Number 7,
places where closer to in those days Port St. Lucie.
Well, I remember when Gary and
Port St. Lucie, St. Petersburg.
I love Tom, but when in '83 when I got traded over, and last time he went into Philadelphia, we had a Sunday day game and Tom wasn't pitching, and Tom took the train back home to Connecticut and stayed for the game, and I was just stunned that he left.
Here's James Loney hitting at .272, and he's been struggling lately. Takes a strike. Well, I mean, I guess once free agency started and once agents started having more say about the kind of perks that were written into players' contracts, that had to have an impact.
Keith and I used to have roommates. Can you imagine if you told someone today to have a roommate? They would their head would explode.
How many years did you have a roommate?
First three.
When I came up, it was you had to have a roommate the first year, and then after the first year, you could go solo pilot, and I did.
0-2, breaking ball taken low. My recollection is as recently as 10 or 12 years ago, the younger players still had roommates. And it's only really in the last decade or so that everybody's had a room to themselves. And of course, now some guys have more than one room to themselves.
Well, the only thing I negotiated in my contract with the Mets, in my 5-year deal,
Loney pulls it foul,
was that I tried to get a suite, a mini suite with a couch. And
you didn't want a mini suite. You wanted the big suite.
Frank Cashin refused, and I just paid the difference. And I said, okay, then get me a mini suite, and I'll pay for the extra. It wasn't a bone of contention with me.
Was the couch worth it?
The couch was worth it. You can throw your clothes on the couch instead of on the floor.
2-2. You know, we talk all the time about, teamwork and leadership and all those things. And I would think that things that we're talking about here make it that much more difficult to have a close-knit team.
Well, I think that
Loney hits it to left field, and Tatis is right there. Doesn't have to move an inch. 2 out.
Anyone who is a father here, your own kids can tune you out with their iPods and their cell phones. And I mean, I didn't learn how to text until my kids, until I figured out that's the way they want to communicate is with text. So it's it's a different thing, because if you walk around the clubhouses, guys have iPods. Guys are watching a movie on the computer. They're watching their at-bats or pitches. It gets into like your little shell.
We used to have card games in the clubhouse. And
that at least includes 4 people, Yep.
Matt Kemp takes a strike. Well, guys do still play cards. Some guys play chess.
Last year.
They were playing Connect 4 in the clubhouse in...
You mean that game where you drop the things in?
Yeah, the three-dimensional checker game.
Did you clarify things? What are things are dropped in?
Little discs.
Little discs, like they look like checkers.
It's like checkers, but it's like vertical. There's a strike to Matt Kemp, and it's 0-2. Ryan Church back with the team today after a couple of days at home, not ready to play for at least a couple more days.
It just looks like he's not enjoying life, huh?
He said tonight he was feeling better, that his symptoms were gone. But they have to take it slow, and he knows that. 0-2 to Matt Kemp. In the air to shallow center. Beltran jogging in. And Claudio Vargas off to a fine start. He's held the Dodgers to 1 hit over the first 2 innings. Still no score.
It was a nice story told by Willie Randolph that when he had to send Tatis down, he talked to him and said, listen, you're a big league player. Go down and get yourself some at-bats. I have to send you down now because you don't fit in the scheme of our team right now. But I have a feeling you're going to be back up here. So work hard down there. And Willie was a prophet.
Hit hard to short. Mazza with a nice spin around stop. And he throws out Tatis for the first down.
Nice play by Mazza there, and nice hustling down the line. Tatis, he busted all the way out of the box. Not an easy play right there. Nice hands.
Right fielder,
Got that ball behind him.
Andy Chavez.
Well, we talked about the absences of the Mets corner outfielders. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Gary, just a moment ago, you're talking about Ryan Church. I had a chance to talk with him today. He did some light throwing in the outfield just to come in and get his arm loose. Said it drove him nuts to be home the last couple of days wanting to be here with his teammates. But I think the good news is it was a step forward because that rest, what it did is today he said he finally, for the first time, did not take the medication for the dizziness, and he didn't have dizziness today. And I got to tell you, I know the shot you had before, it didn't look too great, but talking to him today, you could tell there's a clear difference. He didn't have that fuzzy look, if you will. He looked you right in the eye, and he seemed like he had taken a step in the right direction. You know, I was asking him, hey, when's that 48-hour period going to begin? What's your next step? He says he hopes it begins now. He says he feels really good today, just even going out there and light throwing. If he feels good tomorrow, maybe some light jogging. So, again, Gary, you said it, no date yet, but I think definitely a step forward for Ryan Church with those couple of days of rest.
No question about that. I'm sure he had a lot of incentive to get off his couch after having listened to us for 2 nights.
Of course.
Ryan Schneider hitting 8th in the order, waiting on deck. 3-0 to Chavez, whose bat has really woken up. Not just the home run last night, but he now has 7 hits in his last 17 at bats, up to 225 after a very difficult start. Penny behind 3-0, and he throws a strike to Andy, 3-1.
Penny does throw hard. He's got a great arm.
On 3-1, Chavez bounces one out to Jeff Kent. Nice easy hop, and there are 2 out. So 2 up and 2 set aside by Penny in the second. And here is Brian Schneider, who's gotten the last couple of nights off. And it's kind of gotten lost in all the Delgado talk, but here's Schneider, who has missed enough time already by his estimation with the injuries he had in spring training and the injuries he's had since the season began. And Ramon Castro stepped in the last 2 nights and did a fine job against the left-hand pitchers. But I don't think it sat all that well with Schneider that he didn't play 2 nights in a row, because that's not quite what he was expecting.
Well, like I said last night, I thought in spring training the plan was going to be a platoon behind the plate, but Castro got hurt, as you know, and missed a lot, most of spring training.
Oh, you know, they were both hurt, so, you know, you couldn't really make any plans about anything.
On the Mets had Casanova doing a lot of playing early in the season when Schneider and Castro were both hurt. They even had Gustavo Molina up here, started a game. Now things are starting to settle in the way they had planned, with Schneider and Castro both healthy. Val tipped into the mitt of Russell Martin, 1-2. And it'll be interesting to see, because I asked Willie today, you know, would you think about a platoon with Schneider and Castro? He said, well, I need Schneider's defense, particularly the way he calls the game and stays with the game plan. Curveball taken high. But, you know, again, as is the case with Delgado, it'll be interesting to see whom Willie plays tomorrow. Will he put Castro back in there against the lefty? Two to Schneider. Curveball hit hard to short, right at Mazza. And he throws out Schneider. 3 ground balls for Penny, and he sets the Mets down 1-2-3. 1-2 to DeWitt, pulled down to first. And Delgado stays with it after it flattens out off the grass. And that is 6 in a row retired by Claudio Vargas.
This young girl was brought up there to do the dance in between innings, but they brought her up there under the guise that her boyfriend asked her to marry him.
What'd she say? Oh, it looks like yes.
That's yes.
Very nice.
Please. That's an automatic almost.
Have you ever seen the video of the NBA game where the guy pops out of the cake and asks his girl to marry him, and she looks at him and walks away?
Wow.
And says, "You've got to be kidding me."
That's cold.
You were never turned down, were you, Gary, when you proposed?
No. There's Luis Mazza, and he takes a strike. Mazza, a couple of weeks into his big league career, playing shortstop tonight, had been playing second base the last couple of days. Much more a natural shortstop. He was in the Twins organization for 6 years, was Mazza. Never got a call from them. And finally getting a chance to play in the big leagues with LA. Native of Venezuela. On the corner, Vargas continues to spot that fastball well, 1-2.
Well, he did a nice job in Colorado in that stadium as Brad Penny's on deck. Got 8 ground ball outs with that little sinking fastball.
Reaches for it, taps it over the mound. Castillo in, cross body throw, got him. Nice play by Luis Castillo against the speed of Luis Mazza. 2 away.
Well, sure hands throwing on the run. We know that Luis with the knees, sometimes it's painful to watch him run. You know, he's in some discomfort, but nice play right there and a routine play for him. He's such a good fielder.
Mazza not able to make the play on Castillo's infield grounder. Castillo, though, able to do it to Mazza.
That's the difference between a guy who spent 10 years in the big leagues and a guy who spent 10 years in the minor leagues.
There you go.
Brad Penny takes ball 1. Penny with 4 hits this year and a couple of RBIs. Here's your Lincoln Mercury countdown for tonight. Down to Johan Santana's number.
Nice.
57 games remaining at Shea. 2-0 to Penny.
Who did it tonight? The first night for the Marlins was it Pete Flynn, and then Rusty did it last night, right? There's Johan.
Don't believe we had a celebrity.
No celebrity tonight? Okay.
2-0, hit in the air to center field. That's hit well. Beltran going back. He has room, and he runs it down. Beltran making it look easy, going back on the long fly by Penny. A 1-2-3 inning for Vargas. He's retired 8 in a row. Mets will have 9-1-2 in the order coming up in the bottom of the 3rd with no score.
It's a very embarrassing moment when you get sent down in your first game in AAA, Gary, from my experience.
Vargas chops one toward third. DeWitt hurrying in. And Loney with the good footwork. 1 away.
I led the league in hitting in AAA in, I believe, 74. I made the ball club in 75, and I got sent down around middle May. And I was so embarrassed the first game when I first hit bat, and I got a real warm welcome from the Tulsa fans.
Yeah, the Driller fans.
But I was almost like I failed, you know, and here I am back here at the lead league in hitting, and it's, you know.
It's really a letdown. I never experienced that, but I saw many players come down. I'm telling you, it is exactly how you said it, Keith.
Reyes struck out his first time up tonight. Now, none of that is to suggest that the Mets have made that decision to send Pelfrey down. In fact, you know, the other part of the consideration here is that Claudio Vargas gives the Mets some depth. They'd like to not lose him, but he does not have options. So with the way he's pitched so far, there's no question that if the Mets tried to send him down, somebody would claim him, and they would lose him for good. So the middle ground would be to keep both Pelfrey and Vargas and move Vargas presumably to the bullpen as a long man. Foul back, and it's 1-2.
Did you see that Jorge Sosa just recently signed a minor league contract with the Houston Astros?
Luis Castillo waiting on deck. So the Mets going to have to figure that out. But the good news is, off what Pedro accomplished last night in St. Lucie, it seems almost certain that he will pitch for the Mets next week on the coast. 1-2, and it's pulled down to first base. Loney makes the play to Penny for the second out. That's 5 straight ground ball outs now for Brad Penny. Loney 2 away.
Loney's got a nice little glove over there, doesn't he? He's got nice hands. Good footwork on that throw the first out in the inning on Vargas. And gets in front. See, he rushed over there to get it. He almost overran it. But it's the effort to get there and get in front. I always try to get in front if I could.
And I like the first basemen that close in on the ball aggressively and move forward to the pitcher with that underhand toss. So much easier than occasionally you see a first baseman with that overhand toss, a little movement. That's always hard to catch while you're running.
We've done a little research on Luis Castillo.
Yes.
And his left-handed home runs. He's had 3 of them. Actually, he's only had 2. Because one of his home runs against a right-hand pitcher, he hit right-handed. It was against the knuckleballer Steve Sparks. So he's really only had 2 left-handed home runs, neither one of them inside the park. Okay. He had one of them against Jose Rijo, presumably at the end of Rijo's career, and the other against Javier Vasquez.
Wow.
So 2 legit pitchers. 1-1 to Castillo.
Rio and Vasquez still scratching their head over that one. Prove me wrong, Luis. Take Penny deep. Then we'll really have something to talk about.
Chris Castillo and Penny were teammates in Florida when the Marlins had stockpiled all those great young pitchers, Beckett and Burnett and Dempster and Penny. The one guy in that group who gave the Mets the most trouble, not Josh Beckett, not A.J. Burnett, not Brad Penny, it was Ryan Dempster.
Wow.
He was awesome against the Mets when he would pitch for the Marlins. In fact, he pitched a one-hitter against the Mets down there. In the dirt and bouncing away. 3-1 to Castillo.
Ron, anything you see with the motion here, it just seems like sometimes Penny just searching for his command and his fastball.
Well, I think what happens is that when you have a motion that is this deliberate and this slow, it's almost 180 degrees. You see the pitch totals. It's almost 180 degrees from having a motion that's too quick. Both of them very hard to keep throwing from the same spot. Look how slow his windup is.
And he walks Castillo, and the Mets have a 2-out base run.
I think the big thing for him, you'll see that he pauses, looks to the third base line. That keeps his front shoulder closed. That always was a problem. But the problem is when you go that slow, am I holding my leg up high enough? Am I, what is it called, a metronome? Back and forth.
Pendulum.
Pendulum. That how it goes the same all the time. But when you lift that leg, and you lift it that deliberately, I think it's very, very difficult to throw the same all the time. As you see, he loves to pitch from that first base side. Has a pretty good hole working so far. But I think part of how you throw a lot of times has to do with body type and size. This is a very, very big man, and I don't think he could have a kind of lots of legs and arms at you, kind of a slithery kind of motion a la Oliver Perez, because he's just too big to be able to have that kind of move.
And he's 6'4", 260 pounds. Wow. Dodgers have some big men pitching for them. In tight to right, 1-0.
Billingsley's 240, 245. Broxton
290.
Oh wow!
I mean, Penny's one of the little guys.
Derek Lowe's 6'6".
Yeah. So I guess no one's charging the mound.
No, not against Penny. I'll tell you that.
Maybe when Saito's out there. 1-0 to right. Curveball in the dirt. Stopped nicely by Martin. 2-0. You know, Penny's got that motion where he looks to third base. If you were facing him, Keith, would that be disconcerting, guy looking away that way?
That would not be disconcerting. I mean, you had Fernando Valenzuela who looked up into the sky and had the big leg kick. I picked him up great. It's the guy with the herky-jerky, unconventional motion that gives you trouble. Larry McWilliams is of the world.
Yeah.
You remember him running with the Pirates?
Left-hander.
2-0 to right, hit in the air to left center field. That's deep. Back goes Kemp looking up, and it's out of here. David Wright with his 10th home run of the year, a 2-run shot. And he gives the Mets a 2-0 lead.
Fell behind. 2-0. Had to come in with a fast. Wants it away and right down the Broadway in the belt high. And David, if he can get uncorked here and get in a groove, it would be a tremendous lift for this club.
There's Carlos Beltran taking a strike.
Well, anyone in the lineup that Penny does not want to get behind in the count is David Wright.
Well, it's David's third home run against Wright. And 18 at bats.
What is right now, Gary? 10 for 18 now?
10 for 18, 3 home runs. Wow. Against one of the elite pitchers in the National League. Yet another reason why Penny is 5-12 against the Mets. 0-2 to Beltran. It's taken low, 1-2. Carlos bounced into a force play his first time.
It's all about Penny. I've seen him pitch enough here, Garrett. It's about him falling behind and coming in with the fat one.
And yet he is given up very few home runs over the last few years. Last year, he allowed only 9 home runs the entire season in 208 innings. This was the 5th home run he's allowed this year in 69 innings.
Now, I was talking to a lot of the Dodgers, and they're telling me that Penny has not had the problem of getting ahead of the hitters.
In the dirt, 3-2 to Beltran.
His problem is exactly what has happened in this at bat. 0-2 on a hitter. Next thing you know, you're 3-2. A couple of foul balls. It's been running up its pitch count. And Rick Honeycutt knows this better than anybody that Penny's gotten to 100 pitches over 6 innings like that. It's very easy for him to do that.
And you see how his strikeouts have gone down the last couple of years, just not putting people away. Curveball hit up the middle, and Beltran has a base hit. And Penny got the curveball up on 3-2, and Beltran has the Mets' 3rd hit of the night.
Well, a hanging curveball here. And Carlos stays back and goes up the middle. We talked earlier how he's been playing a lot of pepper with the second baseman pulling too much from the left side. Well, there was a pitch that he could have rolled the wrist over and hit a 4-3 on your scorecard. He went up the middle.
That's a top view that we have over the stadium. That was great to watch Carlos. Ready for the fastball, able to stay back for that breaking ball, and base it up the middle. Nice hitting.
So now Delgado, who struck out his first time up. And Carlos lines up base hit. Beltran to second. He'll stop there as Kemp plays it in. And the Mets have 2 on with 2 out. So Delgado, first pitch swinging, lines the fastball in center field.
Wants the ball away, middle down. Carlos likes that ball where he can extend his hands and down in the strike zone.
That ball was blistered.
But a game-winning hit that brought the Mets from behind to win. Down to third base, and DeWitt takes it to third for the force play to end the inning. Mets take the lead. David Wright crunching a 420-foot bomb. A 2-run shot off Brad Penny, his 10th of the year. And so the Mets take a 2-0 lead. 3-2 to Pierre, and he pops it up. Beltran coming in. And he takes charge to make the catch. 1 away. 9 in a row set down by Vargas. I haven't seen the rotation yet for the Giants against the Mets in San Francisco, but you know, you can throw out Tim Lincecum and Matt Cain. I mean, those guys are good.
I think Lincecum's going to pitch Sunday, so the Mets will miss him.
That's a break.
And that's a break for the Mets. I would have loved to have seen him pitch.
Lincecum's what, 7-1?
Yes.
ERA right around 2. Here's Andre Ethier, who grounded out to Delgado his first time up. Well, Vargas just continuing to roll up the innings. Pulled down to first. Great diving stop by Delgado. And he gets him. That is as good a defensive play as we have ever seen Carlos Delgado make. 2 out.
Oh, look at Willie's reaction.
Yeah, what a play.
Well, that's full extension right there. And that saves a double, potential triple. Beautiful play.
Caught that ball behind him.
That is a magnificent play by Carlos Delgado, and then he knew exactly how much time he had to right himself and get the ball to Vargas.
Well, Willie said in the paper that the defense was part of his sitting him down the 2 games and wanted him to pick it up, was Willie's words.
Well, he picked that one up.
Yes, he did.
There's Russell Martin, and he takes ball 1. Well, that helps Vargas retire his 10th batter in a row. Martin hit the fly ball to right. That led to a double play with Pierre thrown out at the plate. There's a strike to Russell, 1-1. He didn't agree with that call by Bill Welke.
Welke's giving about 3 or 4 inches on the outside corner of the right-handers.
Very good comment, Ronnie. To right-handers only, not lefties. You saw that he didn't do that with Juan Pierre, and that ball that Juan Pierre thought was ball 4.
On the ground to Reyes. And so Claudio Vargas with a terrific inning. He's retired 11 in a row. But kudos to Carlos Delgado for an outstanding defensive play to help him along. 12-1 Mets win that salvaged the finale of that series after the Dodgers won the first 2. And he misses ball 4, and Chavez draws a leadoff walk. Third walk given up by Penny. Let's check in with Kevin.
You know, guys, here's Brian Schneider to the plate here, and you know, off the field, he's a big memorabilia guy. Collects balls and jerseys, especially. He told me he estimates he's got about 40 autographed jerseys from Hall of Famers. Best story though comes from Willie Mays when he was playing in the World Baseball Classic. He had to give up his number 23 to Mark Teixeira, so he wore number 24. Actually worked out well because it turns out that Willie Mays collects 24 jerseys and he wanted a World Baseball Classic jersey. So Schneider said, all right, I'll give you mine if I get one of yours autographed back. Willie Mays, of course, obliged, and Schneider said, by far, the best trade I've ever made. And by the way, guys, talking about Greg Buttle, I filled in on a couple of those Jet shows before I got this job. He called me Kenny. I was way too scared to correct him, so I remained Kenny for the rest of the
season. That's great. Schneider takes ball 1. Thanks for backing us up, Kevin. Schneider grounded out to short his first time up. Claudio Vargas on deck. Mets with a 2-0 lead on the strength of David Wright's 10th home run of the year. A 2-run shot off Penny in the 3rd. Makes a strike, and it's 1-1 to Schneider. Penny's already run 6 full counts in this game, and I think that's not just Penny. I think it's emblematic of the way the Mets have been taking better at bats the last few days.
It's also emblematic of why games are over 3 hours.
On the ground is short. Mazza makes the turn and the flip to Kent, and Loney stays on the bag for the double play. 6-4-3. 2 out and nobody on.
Well, another nice play by Loney. A high throw and staying on the bag on his tiptoes. Also nice play by Mazza. Boy, Endy could have just took Kent right into the next county if he wanted to.
Kent always stands in strong like that.
Yeah.
He's not a guy who's going to jump over people or jump out of the way. Vargas fouls it back. I mean, he's always taken a lot of heat for his defense, but he has a strong arm and he stands in. He's a big second baseman.
Yeah.
Kind of a Bobby Grich type. Good call. Slowly hit, and Mazza comes hurrying in. Vargas is not going to run, and Mazza throws him out to end the inning. So Vargas goes back to the mound with a 2-0 lead as we go to the 5th. Castillo's been on twice, and he lines one to left center field from base hit. Vargas turns third. He's going to be waved home against the weak arm of Pierre. The throw goes to third, and it gets away with the third baseman DeWitt, unable to knock it down. And Reyes scores, and Castillo winds up at third. 4-0 New York. Pierre threw it to third base, but DeWitt was scrambling to get there, and that allowed the second run to score.
Well, 2 mistakes here. Juan Pierre's got to throw. With Reyes running, he's got to throw to second base. Reyes never hesitating. Castillo never hesitating on the throw, who advances to second.
And more importantly, a pitcher moping, sulking, not backing up the right base, and it cost him a run.
It's a double for Castillo, give him 1 RBI, then an error on Pierre, allowing Castillo to go to third and allowing Reyes to score. And David Wright launches one to deep right center field. Back goes Ethier, looking up at the wall, and it's out of here! David Wright with his second 2-run homer of the night. And the Mets have a 6-0 lead, and they're beating up on Brad Penny again.
Fastball, inner half. David so strong, playing that ball the other way, Ron, on a ball that had more of the inner half of the inside part of the plate than the middle. And there's Willie's reaction.
Well, the Mets taking full advantage of the catcher's interference call that prolonged the inning, and they've scored 4 runs. Beltran takes a strike. It looked as though the inning was over when Vargas hit the ground ball. Everybody got to be called back out, and Penny has not gotten anybody out since. And Beltran lines one up the middle, base hit. And Carlos has his second hit of the night. That is 4 straight hits for the Mets after the catcher's interference call. And that'll get Hong-Chi Kuo up in the Dodger bullpen.
First baseman, Carlos
What is it about the
Delgado.
Mets and Brad Penny?
It's hard to fathom. I mean, it's not that they beat him. It's not that they win against him. It's that they beat up on. He's an outstanding pitcher, just not when he faces the Mets.
He just makes too many pitches, falls behind, and doesn't spot his fastball well, doesn't throw inside, at least tonight.
Carlos Delgado, the 8th man up in the inning, and he swings and misses the curveball. It all started with 2 out and nobody on. Vargas hit a ground ball. His bat was tipped by the catcher Russell Martin for catcher's interference. Reyes then hit a base hit past Loney. Castillo dumped one into left center that resulted in 2 runs when Pierre threw the ball away, and then David Wright hit his second 2-run homer of the night. Grounded to the right side, and Kent will run it down. Loney gets back to the bag, and that ends the inning. But the Mets put up 4 unearned runs. The Mets with a 6-0 lead. David Wright with a 2-home run night off Brad Penny. And Kent hits one deep to left field. Back goes Tatis looking up, and that is way out of here. Over the bleachers and deep into the night. Jeff Kent with his 5th home run of the year, and it gets the Dodgers on the board. It's 6-1 New York.
It also is his 370th, puts him ahead of Ralph Kiner, as we talked about earlier. He was tied with Ralph coming in.
Well, Jeff may be 40 years old, but every once in a while.
Oh, if he can hit.
Fastball down Broadway.
Trying to work that ball in, but you
First
can see
baseman
that ball is
James
centered.
Loney.
Nice swing right there, eye on the ball.
He's always had a very short swing for a big man. Have we seen some home runs from right-handed hitters in the last 2 nights?
Cody Ross, Mike Rabello last night. There's a shot by Loney into right field. So back-to-back hits for the Dodgers after Vargas had retired 11 in a row. So the Dodgers have a 1-out base runner. Have a base runner with nobody out, excuse me.
Center fielder,
Good
Matt
Andy,
Kemp.
I love it.
Trying to deke him.
Yes.
He can play some outfield, can he?
Yep. He's a 1 in Stratomatic, I guarantee you.
Now, could you explain to people what that actually means?
Stratomatic, a 1 is was me at first base. And a 4, there is actually a 5 rating for a real butcher out there.
Mike Vail,
Dick Stewart, Mike Vail, sure.
Marv Throneberry, Dave Kingman.
Alex Johnson. We're not being contemporary, are we? So your 1 is your Golden Glover. Your 2 is a very good fielder.
Big cut by Kemp, and it's 0-2.
How about like he's on the DL, I know. How about Josh Willingham for the Marlins? He plays left field, used to be a catcher. What would he be?
4.
4.
And it's a lot about the range, too. And they also factor in errors. We're not going to go into any detail on this. It's a game I love to play. I played when I was in high school. I loved it. Still do.
0-2 to Kemp, who flied to center his first time up. Nobody out in the inning. With a run home on Kent's home run. And Kemp takes a called 3rd strike. Vargas painting that outside corner for his first strikeout of the night. One away. Hit in the air to deep right field. Back goes Chavez back to the warning track at the wall. Can't leap high enough. It's a 2-run homer for Blake DeWitt. And all of a sudden the Dodgers are halfway back. It's 6-3 New York. So the Dodgers, who are dead last in the National League in home runs, with a pair of shots off Vargas here in the 5th for DeWitt, his 5th home run of the season.
25th, 7th RBI. Fastball down Broadway, up.
That could be the same pitch we just saw on that highlight of DeWitt's inside the park home run. Literally the same exact pitch.
Well, the Mets are getting some breaks. You look at the reaction of Vargas here. This could be an entirely different ball game right now. It should be a 3-2 Dodger lead. The interference call.
Luis Mazza grounded out his first time up. A good play by Castillo. 1-1 to Mazza. Mets bullpen is empty as Claudio Vargas in trouble for the first time here in the 5th inning. Swung and missed, and it's 1-2 to Mazza. Very low pitch count for Vargas, and still a better than 2-to-1 strike to ball ratio. And Vargas misses away 2-2.
Well, in the first 4 innings, Vargas's ball was down in the strike zone, almost around the knees the entire time. This inning, the ball has started to come up.
Fouled away.
And I haven't.
Veteran pinch hitter Mark Sweeney out on deck.
I haven't seen Claudio pitch enough to know, but you know, he pitched on 3 days rest, went 7 innings. I know he's pitching on regular rest now, but did it have any lingering effects? You don't know that. I haven't seen him pitch enough. And here comes the Met killers coming in. Hong Chi Kuo.
Watch out for his bat. He might flip it at you. 2-2 to the number 8 hitter Mazza, and he struck him out. High fastball from Vargas gets him 2 away. Well, Vargas has given up 2 home runs. He also has his first 2 strikeouts here in the 5th.
Oh, just threw that ball by him.
Here's your Aflac trivia question for it tonight. We want to know which Dodger player hit the most home runs against the Mets as a rookie. We asked that because Blake DeWitt has 5 home runs this year, 3 of them against the Mets.
Wow.
Including that inside the park job. In fact, he hit his first big league home run against the Mets in that series in LA. So here's Sweeney, who's had more pinch hit at bats this year than anybody else in the National League. He's had a rough time of it, though, hitting .098. Sweeney now 38 years old. I think he's played for everybody in the National League West.
Really?
San Diego,
Yes.
Colorado.
You're right.
Not Arizona, maybe. The other 4. Delgado knocks it down, but he'll make the play himself. So what you're basically saying is if the major league hitter wanted to create catcher's interference, as Tatis loops one to right, and Ethier has it, he could probably do it at any time.
He could do it at any time, but he would never do it because he would be lead the league and hit batters being hit. So it would never happen. No one would ever try it. A big leaguer could do it every time if he wanted to. It's just, you know, it's unfortunate, I guess. Fortunate for the Mets, unfortunate for Martin because, you know, that won't happen to him the rest of the season, probably.
Bases loaded, 2 out, bottom of the 9th. Someone wouldn't try that. I mean, you got guys who try and get hit, and this is a lot less painful. At least initially.
You just wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it.
One of those unwritten rules. Andy Chavez takes a strike.
Like trying to knock the ball out of a glove as you're going to first base. You just.
It depends how you do it. Are you lowering your shoulder or are you slapping?
Slapping. It's no good. It's no good.
A la A-Rod.
I believe that was the reference. Chavez 0 for 1 in a walk. And he takes it low from Kuo, 1-1. Mets 6, Dodgers 3. We're in the bottom of the 5th. David Wright with 2 2-run home runs tonight. David had been in a bit of an RBI drought, but he now has 40 runs batted in for the season to go with his 11 home runs. First Met in double figures in homers this year. Chavez chops one foul. 1-2. We've seen a lot of home runs the last 2 nights. 7 home runs in last night's game and 4 tonight.
You know, but you saw the other night it was 9 home runs in the Yankee-Baltimore game. It's starting to warm up a little bit. And when it warms up, that's when the hitters start getting those 2 home run games like Mr. Wright.
Chavez bounces one to Kent, who gets a nice easy hop. So Quill comes in, retires the first two. And now we'll take on Brian Schneider with 2 men down.
The catcher.
Here's your Sovereign Bank 5th inning recap. Mets taking a 6-0 lead on Wright's two two-run homers and a catcher's interference call that helped them along the way. Claudio Vargas held the Dodgers to just 1 hit through 4 before running into a couple of home runs in the 5th from Jeff Kent and Blake DeWitt. And so the Mets have the 6-3 lead. Schneider is 0 for 2, and he fouls one off. Schneider got off to a fast start with the bat this year, but now just 1 for his last 23. Seen his average melt to 252, which is about what you'd expect from Schneider over a full season.
Well, I got to watch Brian play an entire year in Washington, and I will say that he's a very streaky type of hitter. He'll go on stretches where he'll get his hits in bunches, and then probably combined with the tough duty of catching behind the plate, he'll go through long stretches like he is now.
Claudio Vargas with the bat on deck. 1-2 to Schneider. The Mets tonight are playing the first of 34 straight games outside of the National League East. They won't see another division rival until July 4th when they play the Phillies. 1-2 to Schneider. Breaking ball. Bounce to first. Loney with a nice sliding stop. Finds Quo. 3-1 putout ends the inning.
Well, it made no sense to people trying to judge that.
Pierre hits it out to his old running mate Castillo, who throws him out. 1 away. 3-2. Line the other way. That's an extra base hit for Ethier going to the corner. As Tatis tracks it down, Ethier pulls in with his 12th double of the year. And the Dodgers have a runner in scoring position with 1 out.
Well, their 5th hit of the game. Nice hitting by Ethier with 2 strikes, just slashing the other way. That pitch is knee-high outside corner, and that's what you do with 2 strikes. Keep those hands back and slash at it like that level, and that's what happens.
Rick Peterson looking over the pitching charts. The Mets used 4 relievers last night, so they've got some fresh arms out there.
Well, he does not want to let this game get away. Let the Dodgers creep back into it.
Russell Martin is 0 for 2. Flied into a double play and grounded out to short. And he takes wide from Vargas 1-0.
They've just been keeping the ball away from Russell Martin. Sooner or later, you got to make the adjustment. You see a Canadian there from East York, Ontario, go the other way. Easier said than done.
Russell Martin grew up in Montreal, good pals with Eric Gagne. Their careers going in different directions now.
That was a musician, wasn't he? I think in Montreal. Saxophone player.
On the outside corner, a strike 1 and 2.
This is the 3rd time around for Russell Martin, and it's just been away, away, away. As Carlos Muñiz getting up.
So now Vargas ahead of the count on Martin, 1 and 2. Just missed the outside corner. Dial that one up to 91.
Well, we'll take a peek here. And it missed. Ooh. You ring me up on that when I get hot.
Feliciano joins Muniz in the Mets bullpen. Vargas really slows down the pace when not on base. Lays off the slider, and it's 3 and 2. So back-to-back full counts for Vargas just when he was Working low pitch counts. All of a sudden, it's coming a little more difficultly for him.
It's almost like when I watch Vargas, when he gets into the stretch and he comes set, it's almost like he's got to get everything kind of right in his head before he can proceed to the plate.
Kind of Traxel-esque.
Yes.
Three and two to Russell Martin. And he walked it. And that'll get the tying run to the plate here in the 6th inning. So Vargas, who started the 5th with a 6-0 lead, now it's 6-3. And the guy who started the scoring for the Dodgers, Jeff Kent, coming to bat.
Watch when he comes to set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds before he lets that ball go. That's unusually long.
I probably would have stepped out. Called timeout. Well, Rick Peterson out on the mound with that also familiar hand on the shoulder of the pitcher as he talks to him.
Body language, comfort.
Oh, Rick Peterson has plenty to say, and Bill Welke is letting him say far more than one would expect, standing there at the mound and letting Rick go on.
Well, different umpires act in different ways. A guy like Joe West, he goes out there as soon as he gets out there. Come on, guys, wrap it up. Let's go. And they listen. But other umpires are more understanding. And it also should be understanding within the relationship of the game. This is a very big part of the game for the Mets and the Dodgers. Dodgers trying to come back. Mets trying to put the lid on this one.
Well, here's Jeff Kent, who hit a 415-foot bomb to left field his last time up for the first Dodger run. He's the tying run at the plate now in a 6-3 game. And he takes the breaking ball outside.
Well, fastball right down Broadway. And you notice the first pitch that Vargas threw in this at bat where he can get hurt. He let him off with a breaking pitch and missed him. I'm going to assume that he's going to keep the ball away from Kent.
Started him off with a slider. And the fastball on the corner, 1-1.
Just keeps pounding away, Ron. Anybody paying attention over in that dugout?
Which one of those pitches gets a ground ball? Off the plate with a fastball, and it's 2-1.
So 6 pitches and a walk to Russell Martin on every pitch away, and then 3 pitches to Kent all away. 9 straight pitches outside, trying for the outside corner. And I bet you this will make 10.
Castillo made a run to the bag, and Kent fouls one off his leg. Castillo was standing on second base as that pitch was thrown, so a little miscommunication.
I wonder if that distracted Kent.
Now, as a hitter, could you shoot for that hole if you see that?
Well, it's just, Gary, you know what? If the ball's away, it depends on the hitter. Not everybody can do that. It's hard when you're locked in. If you get a pitch away, sure. Dave Kingman's not going to do it, a dead pull hitter.
2-2 to Kent. Hit the other way. Caught by Delgado. Goes for the tag. And he's safe. Martin got back just ahead of the swipe by Delgado.
Well, this has 2 runs written all over it. Right at Delgado.
Boy, that's a nice job by Martin, somehow getting back, avoiding that tag.
Yep, good call. Didn't tag him. Excellent call. And watch Carlos here. Watch him look to third base on this dive. Watch. He's aware of the runner at third. Keep it rolling, guys. Look at that. He's looking at the runner to see where he's at.
Chris Guccione, the first base umpire, right on top of that play to make the correct call. And now Willie Randolph will go to the bullpen and bring in the left-hander Feliciano to pitch to James Loney. Job well done again by Vargas tonight, 5 2/3, and he leaves with the lead. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Verizon. Switch to Verizon Fios, TV, internet, phone. Pedro Feliciano, first man out of the bullpen. Runners get set to go again with 3 and 2 and 2 down. And Loney lines it up the middle, a base hit. Ethier comes in to score. Martin goes to third. It's an RBI single for James Loney. It's now 6-4 New York, and the Dodgers have the tying runs on base. Loney drives in his 30th run of the season. That run charged to Claudio Vargas.
Wants to go away. Tumo right down the pipe and down.
And that was his 4th fastball in a row to Loney, Keith. Interesting that Feliciano didn't decide to throw him one breaking ball out of that mixture.
Well, that'll be the only batter Feliciano faces, with the right hand hitting Matt Kemp coming up. Carlos Muniz comes into a tight spot in the 6th inning. Mets trying to hang on to a 6-4 lead as Feliciano makes his exit. Well, Carlos Muniz, just recently back from the minor leagues, gets into a very important situation here in the 6th inning.
Just called back a couple of days ago, was with the Mets, of course, on April 8th to the 15th that week, and 4 shutout innings, was 2 and 2 with 5 saves in New Orleans.
They'll come in to face Matt Kemp with 2 out, runners at first and third. Mets had a 6-0 lead. Now it's 6-4, and the tying runs are on base. Martin at third, Loney at first. Kemp is 0 for 2 tonight. He's flying to center and taking a call third strike. 27-year-old Carlos Muniz. And he misses high with the breaking ball, 1-0. Now there's a left-hand hitter on deck, Blake DeWitt. There's nobody up in the Mets bullpen, so it is up to Muniz here to get Kemp, and if he doesn't get Kemp, he's going to have to face DeWitt. Breaking ball, swing and miss, 1-1.
Well, good slider. First pitch was a slider too. That stayed on the inside part though. Want to try to get this ball away from Kemp, who likes that ball in and up.
Carlos Muniz from Torrance, California. Pulled foul.
Kemp had his pitch right there, and you can see he's upset with himself. It's a hanging slider out over the plate, and he was too quick. Oh my goodness. See him letting go with one hand.
You know, Keith, one of the things you do if you're a reliever in the bullpen is you watch the game. And one of the things you've seen is that the umpire has been calling Bill Welke has been calling that outside corner. 1 and 2, maybe take a shot with that fastball away, trying to paint.
Came inside with the fastball, and he gets Kemp swinging to end the inning. Big job by Carlos Muniz to get the Mets out of a 6th inning jam. The Dodgers get a run, 6-4 New York, with Reyes and Castillo coming up. And easily attacks the first pitch from Hong-Chi Kuo and lifts it to left field. And Juan Pierre there to make the play for the first out. So 1 pitch and 1 retired, and Kuo has set down the first 4 Mets to face him. And what else is new?
The Mets have to find some way to trade for Kuo. I mean, he's just unbelievable.
Well, here's what the Dodgers need to do. The next time Penny is scheduled to face the Mets, just let Kuo pitch.
He has been lights out. And this is not just this year. This is for 3 years now.
He got his first big league win against the Mets in 06, and then started against them in the postseason with 1 big league win under his belt. Reyes 1 for 3, singled and scored in the 4th inning to extend his hitting streak to 14 straight and his on-base streak to 29 straight games. Luis Castillo working on a big night, waiting on deck. Here's a fastball for a strike from Kuo, 1-1. Well, Reyes has certainly picked it up over the last 17 games. Look at that on base percentage, and look at the slugging percentage, over 600 over the last 2.5 weeks. Now up to 7 home runs on the year. He hit 3 in 3 days in the series against Florida. Years ago, Reyes hit 19 home runs. Last year he hit only 12. 19 type pace this year. Mets will complete a third of the season on Saturday. This is their 52nd game tonight. 54 games takes you a third of the way through.
2/3 left.
That's a lot of thirds.
It's a lot of season.
2-2 to Reyes. High and tight. And Cole runs full on Jose.
Just thinking about those National League playoffs in '06. The strangest things, right, with the starting pitchers in that. Quo started the game. Of course, Oliver Perez didn't have a lot of starts. He made starts in that. John Maine, a young pitcher.
Game one.
Game one.
Because Pedro was hurt. And El Duque got hurt right before the playoffs. Reyes swinging at ball 4 inadvertently.
Well, tied up and in. Mad at himself, or he knew he was going to get on base. Sometimes the pitcher goes up and in, it fools you. They can get in there and before you have time to react, and still in the at bat. I like the fact that he got upset with himself.
Again, the 3-2 to Reyes. Line drive, base hit. Cole got in on him, but Reyes able to muscle into the left field for his second hit of the night.
Well, he stays level here. Look at the level swing.
Second baseman.
It's an interesting pitch choice, isn't it, Keith? Beat him with the fastball upstairs that he was late on. Now a slider in that same spot, which is a little slower, allowed him to get that bat out front.
Not a great breaking ball neither.
Just a little one.
So Reyes aboard. We'll see what his intentions are with Castillo coming up. Luis having a big night again tonight. Infield hit, walk, double. He's scored 2. He's driven in 1. And Castillo takes a fastball for a strike. There's been only 1 stolen base this year with Quo on the mound. Reyes with 16 steals on the year.
Quo's one of those guys who does not have a good move to first base. Very quick to the plate.
He had Reyes moving back to the bag as he throws that fastball for a strike. 0-2. Michael Bourne not hitting much for the Astros, but stealing bases. Pierre has his 20th tonight. Reyes 4th in the National League in steals after swiping 78 last year. And we talked during spring training that it's not necessarily a bad thing if Reyes steals fewer bases this year. I guess it's more a matter of when he steals them.
Yeah, and I think it's more a matter that early in the season he hasn't been on as much. Now starting to get hot, you'll see those total jump exponentially.
It's interesting. We've seen so much this year with Castillo taking for Reyes, and we know that Reyes doesn't steal early in the count. I just think if that was Luis, I'd say, hey, Jose, you got to go earlier or I'm going to be swinging.
Bouncer to Kent, has to wait on it, gets the force at second. Mazza's relay is in time for the double play. They turn the 4-6-3 on that high hopper, and that ends the inning. 7th inning, Scott Schoenweis, who got the Mets' very successful bullpen night started last night, comes on to try and protect a 2-run lead.
Well, Scott Schoenweis, this is a ability of Willie to try to play the hot hand. He has just been outstanding. And I think because of the kind of pitcher he is, with that sinker and that little slider, the more he pitches, the better he seems to get. He is, you know, not a big man, but he's a very strong pitcher. And this is how he was used with the California Angels, Toronto Blue Jays.
The Mets' left-handed relief has been stunning this year.
Yeah.
When you add up the numbers of Schoenweis, Feliciano, and Wagner, they have been well-nigh unhittable. And that 0.88 mark for lefties against Schoenweis is just out of this world.
Pardon me for saying California Angels. I don't know if they were California, Anaheim, or Los Angeles when he was there.
They are in California.
Yeah.
Still. And we'll be there in a few weeks.
That's right. Middle of the month, right?
Mets play the Angels out in Anaheim during interleague play.
And you come back through Denver, don't you?
Yes,
Gary?
we do.
That's right. Day off in Denver. There's Blake DeWitt, who homered his last time up, and he takes a strike. DeWitt had a 2-run shot in the 5th inning to get the Dodgers back to 6-3. Scott Proctor up in the Dodger bullpen. DeWitt now has 5 home runs this year, 3 of them against the Mets.
Well, this is back in the 5th. And that was the 2nd home run of the inning given up by Vargas. Fastball right out over the plate. He just launched it.
Schoenweiss comes low and in, 1-2.
Just never seen a preponderance of open stanced hitters in on the major league level, and I just doesn't seem it was that way in our time. Everybody was more closed was the natural stance. Today it seems to be in the open stance.
Hooked over to second base, and Castillo throws out DeWitt for the first out. So 1 out and nobody on. The Mets bullpen trying to settle in for another big night. Kevin?
You know, Gary, of course, you guys went down to the bullpen to open the show last night, and it's kind of like its own separate entity during the game. Everyone on their different schedule and different routines. So Carlos Moniz have the big strikeout coming in there. Joe Smith was so happy that Carlos Moniz was here yesterday, and the reason why is he doesn't have to carry the bags down to the bullpen anymore. There are 2 big bags that the lowest guy on the totem pole, so to speak, carries down to the bullpen, and they're filled with candy, weighted balls, nail clippers, medicine, whatever you could possibly imagine that the guys need to have on hand down there. So Smith passed that off. He was very happy about that. I was talking to Joe. I was like, what do you guys do down there all game? And he said for certain guys, it depends. I usually get there just as the game starts. Other guys come later in the first, and Sanchez and Wagner will even come a little bit later as Reyes, with the good range, 2 away. And he said, you know, we have our routines down there. He's like, a lot of times, you know, we're talking a lot. Sometimes we'll have even a daily riddle early in the game to get us thinking, but we vary. He's like, me personally, I'll watch some of the game, you know, in real time, and then I'll go on TV and watch how the hitters are approaching things like that. So every guy has a different way of doing things and a different routine. And I said, well, here's the most important thing. What are you doing with a bag of candy? And he said, guys, the security guards really like it. I don't really buy that, but that's what Joe Smith told me.
Well, you know, we were talking earlier in the game about seniority and its benefits. It seems as though lack of seniority has more deficits to it than seniority doesn't necessarily has benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad the Mets bullpen pitched so well last night, because ball players are very superstitious. We tread on their turf out there, and if they'd had a bad game,
does that mean we're going to be invited back?
No. That's our last. That's it. We're not going to make.
And there is the former bag carrier, Joe Smith, as Terry Tiffey pinch hits. The former Minnesota Twin takes inside from Schoenweiss. Tiffey just recently called up when the Dodger injury woes hit. Andrew Jones undergoing knee surgery, going to be out for 6 weeks, and the Dodgers about to do some cutting and pasting. Nomar Garciaparra on the 60-day DL. Rafael Furcal on the disabled list. And it's contributed, those injuries have, to, especially Furcal's, to the Dodgers' downturn offensively.
Oh, Furcal was hitting .366. Andrew Jones, of course, was just 45 strikeouts and 133 at bats, hitting .165.
Tiffey lifts one to right field, and Chavez moving over. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Scott Schoenweiss. So Schoenweiss just continues to roll. Mets will have the heart of the batting order coming up in the bottom of the 7th. Wright, Beltran, and Delgado, 6-4 New York.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Well, we mentioned the other night that no Met has ever had a 3-home-run game at Shea Stadium. David Wright will take a crack at that here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Well, this was in the 3rd. That was a 2-0 fastball. Brad Penny fell behind. And this one was a fastball in that David played the other way. And that just showing the power that we've come to see from David over the years. The ability to take that inner half pitch the other way. Ronnie, take it away. It's Scott Proctor out there.
Well, Scott Proctor, the ex-Yankee, who was a favorite of Joe Torre to send out to the mound. This is his 24th game. That high ERA. He has pitched well at home, but has really struggled on the road.
So the hard-throwing Proctor on to face right as we start the bottom of the 7th, and David grounds one down to third. Nice pickup on the backhand by DeWitt, and he throws out right. One pitch and one retired.
Well, tough chance here. Tried to come in and get the short hop. He hesitated at first. He was thinking about playing the long hop, and then decided I better come in and get the short. Nice play, nice backhand. And again, I must say this: it's nice hustle to first base by David Wright, where he ran the ball hard out. I'm just starting to see this club rejuvenated.
There's Beltran, and for DeWitt, a guy who was an absolute afterthought. Every time we see him play, he just keeps on impressing.
He's one of those guys that, you know, the game has so many, you know, computers and stats and readouts and who can play and who can't play because of the stats. Occasionally you see a guy whose stats aren't that great, but he's a baseball player, and that's, I think, Blake DeWitt.
Joe Beimel up in the Dodger bullpen.
You know what I'm saying? A guy who knows how to play the game, has great baseball instincts.
2-0 to Beltran. And he takes a strike. Beltran twice has singled to center field tonight.
Oh, Jay, what is he doing with that jacket?
He's wearing it until they lose. That's a good luck jacket now.
Oh, Jay.
Started wearing that on Tuesday night at the behest of Johan Santana. A jacket that was originally acquired by Jeremy Burnitz when he was a Met and hung around the clubhouse. Pedro Martinez has donned it from time to time as a goof. And now it's Jays. And it will be Jays as long as this winning streak continues. It's a 5-button orange jacket.
I saw it. It's extra long.
3-2 to Beltran, and he fouls back the fastball from Proctor.
You know, Ron Gardenhire told me when I was talking to him about Johan Santana, is that he said Johan loves to have a lot of fun, very much a prankster, maybe not like Roger McDowell, very much a prankster, and he's starting to find his mark here with the Mets.
Three-2 to Beltran, and he pops it up. That'll come foul back out of play. Well, it would seem to me that if you're going to be a prankster in Major League Baseball, it probably is advantageous to be a starting pitcher.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's why it was so unusual for Roger McDowell to do it, because Roger was throwing 80 games a year. But you know what? Everyone uses the nerves that they have of playing this game in a different way.
Ball 4, and Beltran's on with a walk. So the Mets have a 1-out base runner. And with Delgado coming up, Joe Torre pops out of the dugout. He's got the lefty Joe Beimel, who has been very, very effective this year. And so Beimel will come on and face Delgado. So Proctor faces 2 batters and exits after the walk to Beltran. Mets with a 6-4 lead in the bottom of the 7th as Proctor exits and Beimel comes in to face Delgado. A very nice reception for native New Yorker Joe Torre as he comes back from the mound for making a pitching change. Torre in his first year with the Dodgers talked to Kevin Burkhardt earlier this year about trying to change the culture with the Dodgers.
The thing I saw more than anything was there was a better energy level. The only thing we tried to sort of bore them with is the fact that we have to have a little more energy. It's sort of like tuning in a game, you know, and you know, some announcers, well, you can tell that the team's losing by the voice.
Yeah.
You know, let's not have our energy level be dictated by the score. Let's play 9 innings a game.
Delgado rips a base hit into right field. Beltran will stop at second as Ethier plays it in quickly, and the Mets have 2 men on. So Delgado with his second hit of the night. This one off the left-hander Beimel.
Well, Beimel's been outstanding for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Coming into this game, he had pitched in half of their games, 26 out of 52, but you see not a lot of innings as he is a left-handed specialist. Unscored upon in 24 of his 26 outings.
Well, here's Tatis, but how about Delgado? A couple of nights on the bench. He has a couple of first pitch base hits, a great defensive play at first base. And now the Mets will try and cash him in. Tatis is 0 for 3. 2 on and 1 out. 6-4 New York, 7th inning. And Tatis swings and misses, nothing in 1.
Well, we showed you that graphic earlier. Tatis with 5 RBIs since put in the lineup. He's got a big opportunity here to break this game wide open.
It's the 4th game Fernando has started. He's out of baseball for 2 full years in 05 and 06 before making a comeback last season and back in the big leagues in 08. There goes Beltran. It's hit back to the mound. Bible knocks it down, makes the play to first, and the runners advance to second and third. Beltran was taken off on his own, and Delgado takes second on the ground out.
So there goes Beltran here. Now Carlos makes a hard turn here, and Beimel just, I know he's rushing for the ball. You've got Beltran makes the turn and was thinking maybe Beimel never gave him a look. That's kind of a tough play for a pitcher right there, Ronnie.
Well, what happens is you have the shock value, Keith. The ball just hits you, you block it, and now you're scuffling to try to get it out any place.
So 2 in scoring position with 2 out. Lefty on lefty as Chavez steps in, and he's 0 for 2 and a walk. And he takes a strike. And he's delivered with his defense tonight, throwing out Juan Pierre at the plate in the 1st inning. If Beltran never stops coming around third,
he might score.
Maybe, but you'd have to think it would still be a pretty close play, no?
Yeah.
Yes. And you don't want to run yourself out of the inning.
And Loney has a good arm at first base. There's a strike to Chavez, and it's 0-2.
Another one of these guys, Ronnie, that throws across his body.
What Beimel does, though, see that front hand, that glove hand? He kind of locates the plate by pointing that out like you point a bow and arrow. He points that glove towards the plate, and that helps him deliver the ball to where he wants to go. Hands very low.
Now Endy's in an 0-2 hole, and he throws his bat at it, rolls out to Kent, barehand play, not in time, and a run comes home. 7-4 New York. Beltran scores as Chavez somehow puts this ball in play and winds up with an infield hit.
Well, better to be lucky than good. Breaking ball, throws the bat at it, and Kent doesn't move like he would, and I don't like he used to. And there's a reaction from Reyes, but there's what speed will do. And then again, here we are, another game with the super subs making a difference.
Now Chavez getting a chance to play and making an impact. Good defensive play tonight. Now that unlikely infield hit drives in a run and keeps the inning going for Schneider. Mets again with a 3-run lead. Schneider is 0 for 3, and he takes a strike. So Beimel has given up 2 hits, both to left-hand batters. Aaron Heilman off his tremendous performance last night, staying busy, and Jay staying with the orange jacket. See Chavez getting a hit, throwing his bat at the ball. It always reminds me of Crazy Horse, Tim Foley.
That's right.
Played for the Mets in the 70s, and if they called a hit and run play with Foley at the plate and they pitched out, Foley would throw his bat at the ball, and more likely than not, he'd hit the ball into right field.
I think I do recall that in the '86 World Series in Boston, I did that. I hit and run, and Gary Carter, I got thrown out at first. Gary Carter came up behind me, hit a home run. That was a 2-home run game for Gary in Fenway.
4th game.
They pitched out on the hit and run.
It takes a special talent. I mean, you can't practice that, right?
No, it's pure reaction.
Well, Beimel has that great move, a quick move over, a real easy move over to try to set up Chavez, and then gave him that good move, but Endy on top of his game.
Schneider takes the fastball in tight. 1-1.
About the 2-out base hits that the Mets are getting the last few days. That, I'll tell you, is just outstanding. Breaks a pitcher's back.
Nick Evans out on deck to pinch hit. Runners at the corners with 2 out for Schneider. And he foul tips one into Martin's mitt, and it's 1-2. Rough sledding for Schneider of late. Loney made a nice play and retired him his last time up. Well, that you don't see often in the ballpark.
Wow.
One-two. Popped up foul coming out of play.
You know, I was asking you, Gary, when we were sitting here before the game, that I remember when we played in the 80s, there used to be an overabundance of Brooklyn Dodger hats. A lot of old Brooklyn Dodger fans would come to the game. Now, this is 25 years ago, but no longer I don't see that anymore
Well,
here.
when the Mets first started out in the Polo Grounds in '62, by far their largest crowds were when the Dodgers and the Giants came back to New York. As Schneider goes the other way and punches one into left field, and that'll bring home Delgado. Another 2-out, 2-strike hit. This one for Schneider, and it's 8-4 New York.
Well, the mistake here is the pitch is up. Belt high, nice and level. Got jammed a little bit, little tardy. Not on the barrel of the bat, but you stay level. And that ball's a line drive off your bat in the hole right there, opposite field. Nice hitting.
I bet you that feels good, too.
And I'll tell you what it also feels good for. It feels good for Scott Schoenweiss, because that base hit enables Schoenweiss to get a turn at bat. They're very precious for relief pitchers, and can I tell you something? Scott Schoenweiss is a lifetime .286 hitter.
Hey.
And it would be 2 for 7. So Nick Evans called back after being placed in the on-deck circle. Schoenweiss pitched a 1-2-3-7, and he'll now stay on to hit and pitch the 8th with a 4-run lead, at least. And he takes a strike from Beimel. Well, Beimel came in to face the left-hand hitters. He's faced 4 batters, and the only one he's retired was the right-hand hitter, Tatis. Delgado got a base hit. Chavez got a base hit. Schneider got a base hit. All lefties. And Schoenweiss falls behind 0-2.
Well, Scott probably wishes it was a right-hander out there, not a left-hander.
Yeah, exactly.
And particularly a left-hander that almost steps towards the first base dugout and comes across his body.
Yeah, his heart's in it. His backside might not be in it.
1-2 to Schoenweiss. Jose Reyes, 2 more hits tonight. The Mets have a dozen hits. In fact, each of the top 5 hitters in the order tonight has 2 hits, including Wright, who has 2 home runs. 1-2 to Schoenweiss, and he taps it slowly to the left side. In comes Mazza to make the play, and he throws out Schoenweiss to end the inning. But the Mets tack on 2 runs with a couple of 2-out hits. Andy Chavez doing it the hard way, throwing his bat at the ball. And that drives in a run. Schneider gets one home as well, and it's 8-4 New York. And Juan Pierre takes a strike. Talk about your precious turns at bat. You don't want to waste those when you get one every 4 years.
That's right. He did a nice job. Made contact against the tough left-hander.
Pierre is 1 for 3, single to lead off the ball game, and then in the first big play of the night was thrown out at the plate by Andy Chavez. Schneider blocking the plate on a fly ball hit by Russell Martin. And that really set the tone for yet another night where the Mets have hustled, played good defense, had good at bats, and played just the way they would like to every night. 0-2 to Pierre, lifted to left along the line. Long run for Reyes or for Tatis, who gets there first to make the play. 1 away. Tatis had a sparkler last night with the backward somersault. This one a little easier, but He's looked at home in the outfield.
Well, I think for anyone who changes positions from infield to outfield, going back on a ball is much more difficult than coming in on a ball. And he looked fine there. Great jump, good speed.
The right fielder, Andre Ethier.
No, 1 out and nobody on. Now Andre Ethier, who doubled down the left field line and scored a run in the 6th. Mets had a 6-0 lead in this game. The Dodgers came back. Home runs by Kent and DeWitt in the 5th. An RBI single by Loney in the 6th to make it 6-4, and they had the tying runs on base. And it will get lost in the ultimate story of this game if the Mets wind up winning by this margin or greater. But Carlos Muniz got a huge out in that 6th inning when he struck out Matt Kemp with the tying runs on base. Now it's foul. I mean, the headlines in this game will be about David Wright and his 2 home runs, and the Mets with their 2-out hits to produce runs and all the energy tonight. But don't overlook Muniz's contribution in that 1 at bat.
Absolutely, and the catcher's interference is huge in that 4-run 4th.
And Ethier down swinging, and that's 5 in a row retired by Scott Schoenweiss. 2 out and nobody on. As we check out the city probables for tomorrow night, John Maine for the Mets, and 20-year-old left-hander Clayton Kershaw makes his 2nd big league start for the Dodgers.
Well, the tall left-hander, he just throws gasoline, 95 miles an hour, and it's going to be fun to watch him pitch.
That's quite a curveball as well. Joe Smith up in the Mets bullpen. Looks like he's coming on right now. Willie Randolph on his way to the mound. After Schoenweiss retired 5 in a row, got the first 2 hitters here in the 8th. And Willie's going to take the ball and say, I need you for another day, Scott. Go rest for your next at bat. So another terrific job by Scott Schoenweiss. He exits after retiring 5 in a row. Joe Smith will come on to face Russell Martin, with the Mets leading 8-4 in the top of the 8th. Time for our Dodge Ask the Booth. Joe from Whippany wants to know, what would you suggest to shorten the length of games? That would presume that you wanted to shorten the length of games.
Less commercials.
Cut and pay.
Cut and Oh, man.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Someone at 51st Street just had a heart attack.
Joe Smith comes in, gets Russell Martin to hit the first pitch on the ground to Reyes, saving Keith from having to say any more words in this inning. As we go to the bottom of the 8th, the Mets with an 8-4 lead over the Dodgers.
The inning was 90 miles per hour.
24-year-old Corey Wade takes over the pitching for the Dodgers.
Well, you know, Gary, he was 24. He had a birthday yesterday. He's now 25.
Happy birthday to you.
From Kentucky Wesleyan, he's doing a great job. He's only pitched in 10 innings so far, 10 2/3 innings, only allowed 1 earned run.
Reyes has singled twice today, bounces this one out to Jeff Kent, and there's the first out in the bottom of the 8th. Well, this is in keeping with the way the night has gone for the Mets. They've only gotten the leadoff man on once tonight, but they've scored all 8 of their runs after 2 were out. Mets have had every manner of big 2-out hit in this game. Luis Castillo had one of those, a double in the 4th. It's a tough way to operate, but it's awfully encouraging. With ball 1 to Castillo.
I think it's great. You'd rather do it, you know, where you're scoring a bunch of runs early in the inning, but just that shows you a lot of concentration. Shows not letting down, staying on point, just all good things.
Castillo chops one down to first, a foul ball. Coming into the night, the Mets with 2 outs and runners in scoring position were hitting .213 as a team. So that has taken quite a boost tonight.
You take away last night, Gary, where they got a lot of two-run RBI. They were on the interstate.
And they have been for most of the year, but that's enormous. Castillo goes the other way, and he has his 3rd hit of the night. So Luis Castillo, 2 hits last night, 3 more hits tonight, and the Mets have a 1-out base runner in the 8th.
Third baseman, David
And now David Wright gets another crack. Again, no Met has ever hit 3 home runs in a game here at Shea. David hit a 2-run homer to left center in the 3rd, a 2-run homer to right center in the 4th. It would only be fitting if someone did it in the last year here at Shea.
Wow, you're right.
Rookie right-hander Corey Wade. How young is Corey Wade? Well, last year he was pitching at Inland Empire in the California League.
Where's that?
I have no idea. Somewhere in California.
Yeah. Inland Empire.
David takes the fastball in tight, 1-1.
California State League in my day was the highest. There was 3 classifications of A ball: low, middle, and high, upper. And the California State League was the top A ball league in the country.
Slider on the corner, and it's 1-2 to right.
What was some of the teams there? Palm Springs?
No, it was Modesto. It was Reno, Modesto. Eckersley played against my brother, Dennis Eckersley. My brother was the Modesto Cardinals.
Visalia?
Visalia was the Mets.
Yep. 1-2.
Almost
looked like he messed up Russell Martin.
You had Stockton was in the league. Reno. Bakersfield was the Dodgers.
Wow.
Yep.
Nice play by Martin.
He was expecting a slider. I'm not sure what that was. Probably a changeup because it came in at 80.
Fresno? No.
Fresno with the Giants.
Okay.
Correct. Very
Fresno
good.
was in the Cal League then, right?
Yes. The Fresno Giants.
2-2 to right with Castillo at first and 1 out.
Talk about hot. You ever been to Fresno in the middle of summer?
No, that's the Valley.
Yeah.
That Stockton's the same way, and Visalia, it's all in that San Joaquin Valley.
Tom Seaver's hometown, of course.
Wade paying a lot of attention to Luis Castillo. Probably should have his mind a little bit more tuned to David Wright. Breaking ball struck him out. So Corey Wade strikes out David Wright. And there are 2 away.
Oh, Corey Wade has a big breaking ball. Gets David out in front, swinging and fishing.
Let's give you the results of our Toyota Text Bowl. This will be very interesting. Where would you rather see Carlos Beltran bat in the lineup? And the fans say, well, it's pretty mixed, but they want him 3rd. Carlos has been hitting cleanup most of this season. And he takes a strike, 0-1. He's been on base 3 times tonight with 2 singles and a walk. Well, we found out where Inland Empire is.
Oh, we did.
It's in San Bernardino.
Down south.
And they are known as the Inland Empire 66ers.
Wow. Oh, because of Route 66.
Route 66. It's down by Bakersfield, I bet you.
Although they're more on Route 10. San Bernardino run. If you go to Palm Springs and you take the 10, you get off on the 66 and you're right there.
But you can't get your kicks on Route 10.
You can't.
Foul tipped, and it's 1-2 to Beltran. Well, the minor league teams have gotten awfully creative with their names.
They have.
The Mets have the Savannah Sand Gnats in their organization down in the South Atlantic League. 1-2, breaking ball low, 2-2.
Wasn't Wally Backman managing a team last year in an independent league that they were called the Georgia Peanuts or something like that?
Yep, something like that.
You got the Hickory Crawdads. All sorts of great names out there. 2-2 to Beltran. Breaking ball taken low. It's 3-2.
I'm a big fan of the Mud Hen.
Toledo.
That's the old one.
Toledo Mud Hens. There's Oklahoma City 89ers.
All right.
Not anymore.
They're probably boring to people at home.
Castillo gets set to run, and Beltran belts one to center field. Kemp going back to the warning track. He has room to make the catch. Beltran hit it about 400 feet. The Mets are done in the bottom of the 8th. Mets are 3 outs away from their 3rd straight win. Kent, Loney, and Kemp coming up for the Dodgers in the top of the 9th. Joe Smith, who got the final out in the 8th inning, stays on for the 9th. The Mets bullpen has been terrific again tonight. Pedro Feliciano gave up a run-scoring hit, but Muniz, Schoenweiss, and Smith have combined to retire 7 in a row as Jeff Kent leads off the 9th. Kent homered back in the 5th inning, his 5th of the year and the 370th of his career as James Loney waits on deck. And it's fouled off by Kent, 1-1. Jeff Kent may retire at the end of this year as Billy Wagner gets set in case he's needed. And you'd have to think that 5 years down the line, Jeff Kent, Hall of Fame.
2013, 2013, yeah.
By some measures, the greatest offensive second baseman there's been. I mean, you can make a case for Rogers Hornsby in terms of batting average. Joe Morgan as an all-around player, but in terms of power numbers for a second baseman, it's hard to argue with Jeff Kent.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, let's put it this way. If Ryan Sandberg is in the Hall of Fame, how can you possibly
First ballot.
not allow Jeff Kent to be a first ballot Hall of Fame?
Ryan Sandberg is going to put more people in the Hall of Fame. You know, think about it. Craig Biggio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So
3,000 hits. It's an automatic. 1-2. Line shot off Smith's glove and into center field. Unfortunately, it was just his glove. That was a head-hunting line drive off the bat of Jeff Kent.
Well, he's saying that'll teach you, young man. Throw your sinker up and over the middle.
whoa, das Boot.
That is good hitting.
First baseman James Loney.
How about Smith getting a glove on that? I think he just deflected that.
Yep.
That's
He thought he should have caught it.
yeah.
It's putting a lot of burden on yourself. high expectations. So here's Loney, who's 2 for 3, and Wagner will throw a little harder in the bullpen as the Dodgers get the leadoff man on in a 4-run game. Loney 2 for 3, singled home a run his last time up, and he takes one wide from Smith. Claudio Vargas started this game and stands to be the winner if the bullpen locks it down. Vargas 5 2/3, allowed 4 runs, 5 hits. And the bullpen has shown again. Loney fouls it off, 1-1. Tomorrow night, John Maine for the Mets and lefty Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers. 7:10 start. And Mike Pelfrey goes Saturday and Johan Santana Sunday night before the Mets head to San Francisco.
And you know the feeling you get as a starting pitcher is that you just don't want to stop this train. You want to keep the train rolling.
Loney bounces it foul when it's 1-2.
John could use the start also. Had that great stuff in Colorado. Really made one mistake. Cost him the ball game.
Well, it was at a time when the Mets just were not playing well, and that Seth Smith 3-run homer was enough to beat them that night. But this team is looking like a whole different unit the last few days. In there for a call, strike 3. Loney goes down looking. That's the first out of the night.
Oh, what a weapon this is. If he can throw that ball inside that comes back over the plate, that will give him the ability to get the left-handed hitters out.
The center fielder, Matt Kemp.
So 1 away. Here's Matt Kemp, who's gone 0 for 3 tonight. Struck out his last 2 at-bats. Came up with the tying runs on base in the 6th inning, and Carlos Muniz struck him out with a fastball. Kemp takes it wide. The Mets with a win tonight could get back to the 500 mark after slipping 3 games below. And Kemp swings at the slider. 1-1. Blake DeWitt waiting on deck for the Dodgers. He has a home run tonight. Up and away, 2-1. Willie has done a nice job over these last couple of weeks of extending his relief pitchers. Not just going 1 inning at a time. Asking for an inning and 2/3 or 2 innings at a time.
And
3-1 now to count.
And I like that, just like we were talking about the starting pitching going a little later, giving them a break. But if you have the relievers in the bullpen that go a little longer, what you do is you give some of those guys a day off. And not only a day off physically from throwing, a day off mentally, where they go, oh, it's past my part in the game. You know, not a lot of chance of me getting in this one.
Kemp lifts it to right field, hit well. Back goes Chavez to make the catch. 2 men down. Kemp hit it solidly the other way, but Indy in the right place to grab it. And now the Dodgers are down to their final out of the night.
Well, Indy can play the outfield, and this is routine for him. Just makes it look easy. Unlike Tatis the other night where he did the backflip.
But see, that catch by Indy, that's not making any highlight
That's
films.
right.
Of course, Indy has his highlight film catch for the ages.
That's right.
Here's Blake DeWitt, the final hope for the Dodgers. 2-run homer back in the 5th. 1 for 3 on the night, and he takes a strike from Joe. 0-1. Kent not being held on. And the slider in for a strike. And now the Dodgers are down to their final strike of the night. Joe Torre's return to New York has not gone well. 52,886, hoping that Smith can put the night to bed. Breaking ball in there for a call strike 3, and the ball game is over. Joe Smith goes the final inning and a 3rd, closing out another terrific night for the Mets bullpen. David Wright hits 2 2-run homers. The Mets score 8 runs after 2 were out, and they win their 3rd straight game to get back to 500 for the season.
Well, the game finished for Joe Smith, and the best thing you could say about the Mets bench as you're looking at it come off the field, lots of smiles. That's something you didn't see 3 or 4 days ago, as the Mets are starting to get some hits. Reyes doing it in the leadoff spot. Delgado with a couple hits and a great play down the line. And Willie's got this team moving.
Well, snappy play, a lot of energy back now. Amazing what a couple wins will do to a ball club. And I like the fact that they're hustling. And it was, I got to say, Gary, it was inspired by Tatis, Endy Chavez, Damian Easley. They're the ones that helped turn this ball club around along with the bullpen.
Brad Penny now 5-13 lifetime against the Mets, 1-10 at Shea Stadium as David Wright hits a pair of home runs. The Mets get big clutch hits, and another great job from the bullpen as Claudio Vargas gets his 2nd win, and the Mets capture their 3rd in a row.